From CBS 4, this is Haystack TV, powered by haystack-colorado.com. Finding reliable services can be like finding a needle in a haystack. With haystack-colorado.com, finding the needle just got a lot easier. Now, the host of Haystack TV, Chris Kane.
Today on Haystack TV, attorney Molly Jansen is here to talk about your rights and responsibilities if you've recently been charged with domestic violence. Preparing a funeral for a loved one can be complicated and expensive. Up next, we find out how Newcomer Funeral Homes helps to save you money and give you and your family the respect you need during this difficult time. And buying or selling a home can be complicated and stressful. Coming up, we introduce you to a real estate agent, and his pressure-free approach will ensure that your move is a smooth one. Hello, and thanks for watching. If you've recently been charged with domestic violence, you'll want a great lawyer in your corner. Attorney Molly Jansen is here to discuss what to do if you're caught up in a domestic violence situation. Molly Jansen is the owner and partner of Jansen & Associates. Thanks for being here again today.
Thank you.
And like we do with every company that we have on Haystack TV and haystack-colorado.com, we do background checks, so I'm going to tell our viewers what we know about you and your company. Jansen & Associates are members of the Colorado and Denver Bar Association. You belong to the Colorado Criminal Defense Bar and the National College of DUI Defense Attorneys, and you have no complaints registered with the Better Business Bureau. Now, you've been on our show quite a bit, and we've talked about DUIs, and we've talked about driving with pot in the system and other criminal charges. Today, we're talking about domestic violence.
Right.
Domestic violence, I think for the most part, people understand that, if there is a big fight and it gets very physical, that's domestic violence. But it can go to minor incidents and be charged with domestic violence also. So why don't you explain everything that's involved with domestic violence?
You're exactly correct. And I handle a lot of domestic violence cases. And so before we even get into this, I really want to send one message out, which is if you are a victim of domestic violence, please go find some resources so that some people can help you get out of that really bad situation that you're in. In addition to that, if you are a victim in a pending criminal case, please contact the victim advocate. There are resources through the district attorney's office, so I really implore people to do that if they are finding themselves as a victim in a case like this. However, because of the amount of domestic violence cases that I do, I see a trend, which is people will come to me and say, my significant other was calling 911, they had the phone, I grabbed the phone, and now I'm charged with domestic violence and phone tampering. And I say to them, but you can't do that. You can't throw a lamp across the room, even if it's not at that person. Whenever there is a crime like that that occurs, where an intimate relationship has occurred or is occurring, that is domestic violence, because really domestic violence isn't a charge. It's a sentencing enhancer. It's attached to the crime itself. And so you'll have people who throw the lamp, and then they're charged with criminal mischief, and then domestic violence. And so people need to understand screaming and yelling, harassment, that's the same thing. Those kinds of events that occur between people in a relationship really can very quickly get to a place where someone is charged with domestic violence.
And you made a good point earlier that, again, if you're a victim, you definitely need to seek help. And then there's other times, too, where if you know that in certain situations things are going to erupt, you need to avoid those certain situations, and a lot of that involves drinking and drugs.
I see a ton of domestic violence related around major holidays, mainly because people are drinking and doing drugs. But if you take that element out from a relationship that already may have conflict, that's going to help things. It's going to be able to give somebody the ability to take a time out and walk away and count to 10 and sort of breathe and get it together. But you add the drugs and the alcohol, and things change very, very quickly. And so once someone's charged with domestic violence, just so everyone knows, you are looking at 36 weeks of domestic violence counseling. That's by statute. You're looking at probation. If you have a prior criminal history, you're looking at jail. You're looking at a temporary protection order where you may not now be able to live in your home, see your children. If you work together, go to work. And so really a case like this can just, it can slam your life in every direction. And so with that, I really want people to know, take a time out. Don't grab the phone. Don't scream and yell. Walk away. Don't throw the lamp across the room. Because once the cops come, somebody is going to jail.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask. Is that pretty much standard?
That's standard.
If the police come out, someone's going to jail.
Generally speaking, somebody's going to jail. Because the other thing is that the police don't want to be responsible for a situation that they walk away from.
Right.
And now someone got killed. Or someone got seriously injured. And so the police are there to serve and protect. And that is their job. And when they get into a situation like that, they're going to find a way to make sure that it stops. And so be careful about that, because somebody's going in, essentially.
And if someone does get charged and they end up downtown arrested,
right,
what are the first steps they should take?
Well, and that's a little bit different than some of the other times that we've had this show. When you are charged with domestic violence, you are arrested. That's it. There is no, I'll go to detox or get a ticket and go home. You are arrested and you're put through a program called the Fast Track program, which means you cannot get a bond set until you see a judge. So you could sit for several days, and you're going to get a bond. So if you don't have the finances to pay for that bond, you're going to stay in jail until your case is over, which could take up to a year. And so be wary of that. When you find yourself drinking or in a really bad situation, somebody needs to walk away.
Right.
And just avoid it. Otherwise, you're in jail and you're facing a whole lot of issues. And probation's not fun.
Yeah. And probation, how long is probation?
Generally
typically?
a year.
Yeah.
Can be longer than that. The domestic violence counseling is going to take the majority of that anyway. 36 weeks is, it's a lot of time.
It is.
It's a lot of time. And so, people really need to be careful, because these simple things that happen in an argument can really turn ugly.
Yes. Well, again, you make just great points. Walk away. Don't drink, don't do drugs, and then walk away.
Right.
You can always control the situation by doing that. So thank you again for sharing this great information. I'll tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jansen and Associates wants to ensure that you're represented fairly and informed about the charges against you before you make a bad decision. They are a criminal defense law firm handling everything from traffic offenses to DUI to major felonies. Call them at 303-832-5400 or visit their website at jansenlegal.com. They offer free consultations. The number again is 303-832-5400. People are not often prepared for the passing of a loved one. After the break, Newcomer Funeral Home is here to discuss how they will be there to support you and your family through this difficult time. And be sure to tune in every weekday from noon to 1 for Haystack Help Radio. We'll help you with your problems, questions, and complaints, find you reliable companies, and keep you informed on consumer topics. Haystack Help Radio airs every weekday from noon to 1 on 101.5 The Truth, Denver's FM Talk. We'll be right back.